There's a place you can still see with your eyes closed, the exact shade of the walls, the creak in the third stair, the way the light came through that one window in the afternoon. You went back. And it wasn't wrong exactly. Nothing had been destroyed. Nothing was even that different. But it didn't feel like home anymore. And you couldn't explain why. Here's what I want you to stay for. That feeling has a name. And it has almost nothing to do with what actually changed in that place. It has to do with a version of you that got left behind there, still waiting for a house that doesn't exist in that shape anymore. I'm going to show you exactly what's happening when a place you love stops feeling like yours, even though you never left it behind on purpose. To understand this, you need to know something most people never think about consciously. Harold Pershansky was an environmental psychologist at the City University of New York. In the late 1970s, he introduced an idea that changed how psychologists think about identity itself. He argued that your sense of who you are isn't only built from your memories, your relationships, your personality, it's also built from places. The rooms you grew up in, the streets you walked to school, the specific version of a kitchen, a porch, a bedroom, that your brain quietly filed away as part of what you means. Pershansky called this place identity. And here's the part that matters. It's not a metaphor. Your brain treats a familiar place almost like it treats a familiar face. Which means when that place changes, even in small ways, it isn't just the room that's different. It's you. Think about the last time you walked into somewhere that used to be yours, and it felt like visiting a stranger's house that happened to have your furniture in it. That wasn't nostalgia, that was your own identity flinching. This is where it gets specific. In 2003, an Australian philosopher named Glenn Albrecht was studying communities living through mining and drought. He noticed something odd: people who hadn't been displaced, hadn't lost their homes, were still describing something that sounded exactly like grief. He coined a term for it: Solastalgia. He described it simply as the homesickness you have when you are still at home. Albrecht built the word from two roots: solace, the comfort a place gives you, and algia, the Greek root for pain. The pain of losing the comfort of a place without ever losing the place itself. He was writing about landscapes changed by industry, but the feeling he named doesn't need a mine or a drought to show up. It shows up when your parents repaint the room you grew up in, when the restaurant on the corner becomes something else, when you walk down the street you grew up on and it's technically the same street and somehow it isn't. You don't have to lose a place to grieve it. You just have to watch it become something your memory doesn't recognize anymore. Here's the part almost nobody realizes while it's happening to them. Urban planner Kevin Lynch spent years studying how people navigate cities, and he found that everyone builds what he called a cognitive map. Not a real map, an internal one. A mental version of a place built from memory, used to feel oriented and safe inside it. The problem is that internal map doesn't update automatically. You left, or you just stopped visiting as often, and the real place kept changing without you there to witness it happening gradually. So in your head, that house is frozen, exactly as it was the last time it truly belonged to you. And when you walk back into the real version, your brain runs the two versions side by side, the one you're standing in, and the one you never updated. That gap between them, that's the feeling. Not confusion, not sentimentality. Grief for a version of a place that only exists in your memory now. Which explains something people misunderstand about themselves. You're not upset that the place changed. Change was always going to happen. You know that logically. What actually hurts is smaller and stranger than that. It's that the change happened without you. While you weren't there to grieve it in real time, in small pieces, the way the people who stayed got to. They got a slow goodbye. One repainted wall at a time, one conversation at a time. You got the whole thing delivered at once the day you walk back in. That's why it feels heavier than it should. You're not mourning one change, you're mourning every version of that place you never got to see happen. Here's what actually makes this bearable to think about. The ache only exists because the place mattered enough to become part of how you understand yourself. People don't grieve rooms they never loved. They don't feel disoriented walking past a street they were indifferent to. The homesickness you feel standing in a place that's still there, still yours on paper, still technically home, is proof of how deeply that place got written into you in the first place. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you for feeling unmoored somewhere familiar. It's a sign of how much that place was doing for you, quietly, for years, without either of you noticing. The house didn't betray you by changing. It just kept living without waiting for you to catch up. The way places do. The way people do. And somewhere between the version you remember and the version standing in front of you now, there's a small, quiet kind of loss that doesn't get a funeral, or a name most people know, or permission to be taken seriously. But it's real. And it was always going to happen eventually, to every place you've ever loved, whether you were there to watch it or not. You didn't lose your home. You just outlived one version of it. Human, after all.